Mike's, from Mike's tent. We looked it up, we opened it up, it was from Dan at Fire something. It said Mike's tent.
Morning.
It said your invoice is attached.
Morning.
Good morning.
I got an email from you, supposedly. It says your invoice is attached, so we opened it up and it was, the address was Dan at Fire or something.
Huh.
It's gotta be a way to go after people like that.
You sure wish. Yeah.
It's too easy to do.
There's the bell.
So gonna ringer shut down so it doesn't go off during the pledge.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
consider for approval minutes and agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and agenda.
Got a motion from Jens Holden, second from Sandra to approve the minutes and agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. 9 a.m. Molly Hendrick, RSVP to discuss annual report and funding requests.
Okay. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Thank you for your flexibility. I apologize for not being here last week. I think it was, yeah. So just a little bit about our year. We had 43 volunteers serve almost 1,000 hours this past year. That number kind of bounces around, sometimes for no reason at all. Sometimes there's different factors. This past year, the Breakfast Buddy program at Lake Mills and North Iowa, we stopped that program just because the numbers were dwindling in numbers of volunteers, and the needs at the school have changed a little bit. That's just not as great of a need as it used to be. It's still going strong in Forest City, but we did lose a couple of volunteers when the principals and I decided to end those two programs. However, this year that we're in right now, we've added a Pen Pal program for Forest City. So we've had the Pen Pal program for 6 or 7 years now, and Forest City, this is the first year they've requested it. So I know we have some Pen Pals that live in Forest City that used to write other students in other communities, and so it'll be kind of fun to do it right here in Forest City. You can live anywhere and write to a student anywhere. Some of our Pen Pals, fly south for the winter, so they're writing from Florida and Arizona, and it works. So I did include in your packet information about all of the volunteer opportunities that we have. I thought maybe it was just a good time to perhaps reintroduce to you all that RSVP does. We do have more than Reading Buddies, Reading Coaches, and Pen Pals, although those are our large signature programs. And there's a sheet where each community, what's offered in that community, because it does vary by community and school district. I included some information about what teachers have to say about RSVP volunteers. I think that's kind of a nice take on, what are the teachers, how do they feel about volunteers coming into their rooms and reading with kids, and it's always overwhelmingly positive. We survey students too every year. It's kind of funny, sometimes you'll get a student who says something like, I don't really like my reading buddy, but it probably equates to, I don't like reading. So if I'll back up, like almost a year ago, MLK Day 2019, our volunteer coordinator, Teresa Price, wanted to do something new. We did sort of celebrate MLK Day for a few years in a row through Pen Pals and encouraged volunteers and students to write back and forth about Martin Luther King Jr. But Teresa Price decided to do something different, and she got volunteers to go into care centers So we did that at Forest City, the Good Samaritan in Forest City. And that was, I think anytime you go in a care center, it's an overwhelmingly positive response from the people who live there. And then I think the people that go in are always pleasantly surprised when they're done, like, I really enjoyed that. So she's gearing up to do that again this year. It's just something different to offer volunteers a way to serve in a different way. And probably our largest challenge with RSVP continues to be recruitment. Our recruitment is very positive, and then it's also very challenging. So volunteers are our best recruiters. They, whether they say to a friend, you should do this, or their friend says to them, how do you do what you're doing? I want to go in and read with the students. And they make that connection with the program. For us to recruit, like as staff, as a program, that's the challenging side. We used to come around and do recruitment events in each community, and the numbers of people attending just dwindled and dwindled until it really wasn't worth our time to even try to do that anymore. So this past summer, we tried something new, and we moved a training to the summer months. We always try to offer some type of training, whether it doesn't necessarily have to be about reading with students. It could be just something that relates to the population of 55 and older, or working with challenging students in general. So we decided to move that training to the summer months and partner it with recruitment. So encouraging people to bring someone with them. We ran advertisements in the newspaper for the first time ever. That was part of receiving the additional federal funding that we got for those two counties. Really allowed us to have advertising dollars. So we contracted with a teacher from Newman Catholic Schools in Mason City who's got a rich history of working with challenging students, and her own child has autism, and it was wonderful. It was really a positive experience for people that came. We even wrote it up in the newsletter for people that didn't come. A couple of things that she said. I learned a lot myself. She talked about how there's been a shift in the educational mindset. So students are coming with so many varying needs, and education really needs to be about an individual student, and flexible, and live in the moment, react in the present. Steps you can take as a volunteer. She really encouraged volunteers to stop looking at volunteering in the schools through the lens of, well, when I was in school, kids didn't behave this way. Because they're right, they didn't. But there's reasons. We live in a different world. I mean, we now have things like training for active shooters, which, can have a huge impact on the students' psychological approach. So it's the basics. It's connect with students, show them you care, listen to their behavior. She talked about how behavior can be a symptom of what's going on in a child's life. So if a child cannot tell you what's wrong, they will show you through their behavior. And I always like this quote, and I think just listening to her really put it into perspective for me, that the kids who need the most love will ask for it in the most unloving ways. And sometimes those kids are in the Reading Buddy or the Reading Coach program. They don't like to read. They struggle at home with different parent problems, issues, and they come to school and it's hard for them to focus on learning, and they don't spend any time reading, so they think they hate it. And volunteers, a win for a volunteer could be from fall to spring, a student saying, I like to read now. And that's huge. So, so much of this program is about the relationship as much as it is reading. But in general, I say we've settled into serving our full 6 counties that we got that expansion grant for. We're new in Mitchell and Franklin, and so I think it's going well, serving 6 counties. I know the federal funding really alleviated some, oh, where are we going to go with funding in the future? That's where we were a few years ago. And that addition, because with more federal funding came more state funding and county funding with 2 counties. So we're feeling comfortable with our funding. Our request is the same as last year. We have a 30% local match we're required to meet, and we're like kind of teeter every year, like, are we gonna, because the United Way fluctuates so much, are we going to reach that match or not? So even though the federal funding is a much larger amount, local funding is just as important. And you may notice I'm alone today. Terry Shoemaker is, he'll be done with NIAC at the end of this month. He put in his resignation like 4 months ago, time for the college to find his replacement. Terry and I go way back. We graduated from high school together, so we joke back and forth that he's having a midlife crisis because he doesn't know what he's doing. But he'll land on his feet and he'll figure it out. He just says it's time for something different. So we will all miss him, but I will give you the information I talked about, and which includes our funding request. Do you have any questions for me? You're welcome.
Since the breakfast program has been brought to Lake North Center, do you know how many kids are still in need of that program?
And the breakfast program was not dropped in the school, just the RSVP volunteers coming in.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I made it sound like that. Yep, they're still serving breakfast, and there's just not volunteers.
You think that's really a need to have those volunteers come in?
I think it depends on the school, because when I talked to both principals in at North Iowa and in Lake Mills, they were like, yeah, it's okay. They don't need to come in. I think volunteers don't like getting up as early as they used to. So then I called the Forest City principal, and I can't remember his name right now. I'm terrible at remembering names. He said, let me get back to you. And he said, no, they want to keep it going. And they have 7 volunteers. So you kind of have to have that critical mass to make it work. But like in Garner, we dropped it a couple of years ago. The principal called me and said, I think I messed up the Breakfast Buddy program. I'm like, oh no, what'd you do? And he said, well, the kids go out to recess when they're done eating. I'm like, that's okay too. It's important to get some physical activity before you sit down for a full day of school. So it was kind of a mistake that we dropped. I mean, like his just oversight, but it's okay, So I don't know. It's kind of changed over the years, and if they ever want it back, I said, if you ever want it back, just call us. But yeah, we really have started hearing from volunteers that they just don't like to leave the house that early. So
Are
I can
most of the
understand
volunteers retired, or?
Most of them are, yes. Like, we started a volunteer in Mason City this week, and she's still working. She went to a United Way presentation at her employer and saw RSVP listed in the information, and her employer allows volunteer time during the workday. So she's going to start being a reading coach. I don't even know if we have 5% of people who are not retired.
My sister used to volunteer down in, I think, Story City.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And for her, she was quite young then. It helped on her resume.
Sure, yes,
She was
yep,
good at working
yeah.
with people.
Right. And there's some opportunities that lend more to working, like IRIS, the Iowa Radio Information Service for the Blind and Print Handicapped. You go to KCMR, 8 o'clock every day of the year, and you read the Globe Gazette, and that's that goes out like through a transistor radio to people who are visually impaired. We can do that on Saturday and Sunday. So you could work Monday through Friday and still be an Iris volunteer. The reading buddy, that's a little harder because it's definitely during the school year. You could be a pen pal. We have a few pen pals who are not retired.
But I would think there'd maybe be some, maybe younger mothers or something that it could take some time to involve that way. If
So-
their child is getting into daycare.
Right.
Or into preschool or.
The one requirement, I mean, we really have one major requirement. You have to be 55.
Oh,
Yep. So this is a program for people 55. So was your sister 55?
well, she might have been working with the program as a paid.
Oh, okay.
With those people
Yeah.
made a big difference.
Yeah. Sure. Yep. Yeah, that's the only, there's no, income guideline like foster grandparent. I don't know if you've ever heard of the foster grandparent program. You have to meet an income minimum and be 55.
Okay.
But RSVP is just 55 or older. And there's a couple other little, there's rules and we've actually had this come up where volunteers cannot engage in political or religious, activities. And we've seen the religious piece through pen pal letters. And so we've really had to hit hard with volunteers that that's just not a part of this program. We can't be evangelizing with 4th or 5th grade students. And it has upset a few pen pals actually, but when you're federally funded, can't do that. So those are our only rules.
Well, appreciate everything you guys do for our communities.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's a great program, and there's so many positive side effects for it, for the volunteers, for schools. Everyone sort of loves the program, so I always say they make our job really easy. Thank you so much for having me.
Good day.
You too.
You reached Scott Minders, County Engineer. Please.
Not a lot, how about you?
About 32.
County Engineer's Office.
Hi Becky, this is Terry. Is Scott available?
Yes, actually, he's on his way.
All
Be
right.
there in a minute.
Thanks. Morning.
Morning. Assume that was you guys calling on my tail end there.
What do you have for roads this morning?
Well, one thing I wanted to discuss with you guys, I guess we got snow on the ground now, so, it's all the snow things here. One thing we got, I got to talk with our wind farm project here. We got some issues to address as they're moving some snow out there, and I wasn't expecting them to. And they were pretty tight on the road, and they don't have wings, so we'll have to get in touch with them and figure out a system. But so if you hear anything, we're working on it. Tracy was in there, stopped down my office this morning, so we're working on it. We'll see what we can get done.
Agreement to plow the snow then?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
So I was expecting for our guys to move the snow and, level Bs. Of course, they'd have to get their own access that way. And then, if they need to punch through a drift or something, that'd be fine, but I wouldn't think they'd have to run the whole routes if we're not running the whole routes. So I guess I'm not sure, so just, I need to address it. The other thing is, heard from a couple of our guys that, people are moving snow from their driveways, pushing it across the road, pushing it into the road, whatever. And as you talk to some of these people, they think, some of them say things like, yeah, well, the plow's gonna go by, I'll just put the snow out there and they can fling it away, but it's really not a good idea, just in case it'll be a while before a plow goes by and turns into an ice block on the road. So we got some of that, and some guys push it into the opposite side of the ditch and leave kind of trails across the road, so you basically like a rumble strip in front of the place, or they put it on the sides of the driveways and leave it 3-4 foot high, and then that's where the drift is the next day. So
I do have a question.
yeah.
Okay, so within the right of way, if you're plowing snow off the road and piling it on somebody's driveway, it came from the road.
Yeah.
So it belongs to the road. Can they push that portion of it off as long as they feather it out?
Yeah, I mean, it's something we got to work together on for sure. But in everybody's benefit to try to get that snow as far away as we can. Snow blowers are the best for a lot of that kind of stuff. Once you get a pile at the end of a driveway, it's going to be there all winter, and it's going to get taller and taller and taller.
Well, generally, what the state puts in my driveway, that portion of it that's this wide, I usually just take and push it to the right and go with the traffic and wing it off past my mailbox.
Yeah.
It really doesn't bother there.
If it doesn't bother, it's no big deal. If you can get it below the level of the road, that's the trick. But geez, we got full ditches already in a lot of places.
Yeah.
It's just the big piles that are left that are, the most of a nuisance. And usually I think there's places to put it along the edges of the driveway or down in the very bottom of the ditch, or it's not a
Must have been a challenge to plow yesterday with the
I'm sure.
soft roads.
Yeah,
and
sounded like-
hard drifts.
Yeah.
I got a text message from somebody, Leland to on 400, that third road going out a couple of miles. They were not impressed with the plowing job. So I looked at it. Yeah, there was areas that was still steep in the middle, but you can see on the sides it was sinking under the shoulder, trying to wing it back, and it was just.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll be able to come back and knock it down later, but they got through one time.
Yeah. I mean, ideal conditions are the road freezes in perfect condition and the guys have a nice smooth road to drive on and get rid of the snow, but that definitely didn't happen this year. Everything got rutted up and then froze, and so they're kind of bouncing on that as they go, and the blade bounces with
Just
the
want to make
machine.
sure, the remaining part in the middle that's like this gets knocked down again at least before it starts thawing and doesn't create worse ruts.
Yeah. I'm sure if they, weren't able to get everything cleaned up the way they liked it yesterday, they'll be out touching things up. I know some of the guys are. But yeah, kind of crummy holiday weekend for gravel roads. But our guys on the pavements were out every day over the holiday weekend, and so appreciate all the work they do and time they took from their families to take care of the roads.
I can tell you, Sarah Borba was not out. That was a mess.
Okay, I didn't see that county line.
Neither was Minnesota.
It was just warm enough a lot of times just to stick and make crappy roads. It just wasn't good.
Well, there's definitely less snow south of Forest City than there is here. We got hit a lot harder than it's flat fields down there.
Really?
Still snow there, but a lot of it blew away.
Anyway, in kind of response to some of the issues, I wanted to put a notice in the paper to residents just to kind of give some guidance on what to do with that snow. If there's, site-specific questions, they can surely call so we can kind of talk it through. But it looks like in the past that notice has been posted, and it's been posted as to board as supervisors. So I wanted to run it by you before I threw something in the paper with your signature on it. But got any concerns with it, or?
As long as we can answer all the questions.
Yeah,
What's gonna happen now, this looks like this week's gonna be close to 40 in a couple days. You go out with a maintainer and knock down the gravel ruts.
there's been a couple spots that the guys have just sunk through the
Yeah.
surface of the road, and it's been kind of nasty, so I know they got a couple spots on their list to kind of address somehow. So,
Well, I suppose the maintainer makes the ruts again too. So.
yeah, that's the thing, over the weekend, you know, if we'd have been out, and a lot of those times, it'd have made it worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not the time to be hauling rock by any means,
Kind of
but,
like the frozen ruts in the new bridge over there, right?
yeah. We'll have a few things to try to fix, but, yeah, as a rule, we're not trying to haul rock to the roads this time of year, because it just,
No, but I mean, you can't really even go out with the maintainer, can you? Because the back wheels are gonna put the ruts in again, right? Or-
It'll be- yeah, it'll be a judgment call by the operator, and trying to come up with a plan
Maybe
for
that's one
those
of those
areas,
things you do it first thing in the morning only, and
maybe. Yeah,
it's still supposed to be cool at night, so.
The worst part about it's the ruts, the peak of the ruts, the part that froze the hardest, and by the time you get enough sun out to thaw that out,
yeah,
Do what you gotta do.
yep.
Anything else for us?
That's all I got.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Auditor's office will discuss drainage matters. Dave, did you have anything for drainage?
I do not.
no post-nasal drainage or
I'm kind of taken aback that you would even ask me.
Well, we're trying to get you more involved.
we don't
No,
know what you
our
enjoy.
our office should work in conjunction with each other.
Well, luckily I brought Chris along with me, so she can.
What do you have, Chris?
I don't have anything today.
I did see, they're getting close to done on that, digging of that ditch out west of town.
Yes, yes. And I've had a couple landowners call about the depth of it and whatever, and they've been talking with Matt, and they're getting that. Everybody's happy so far.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
Do we think it's gonna do any good without doing any further?
Nobody has said anything yet, so I wonder if we should wait until
See how.
next year, see how it goes.
Probably help a little until it starts to set in again because of the
Dave, that's kind of like you brought your assistants, Chris. It's kind of like the professor that was a world-renowned lecturer, and he had a driver, butler driver, that went with him all the time and listened to his lectures. And they were talking one day, and he says, the driver said, you know, I've heard your lecture so many times, I could give it. So he said, all right, next time you give it. So he did, and gave the perfect lecture, and then they asked for questions, and the guy in the audience asked this guy, the butler, he said, a really technical question. So the butler was, you know what, that's just a stupid question, I'm gonna let my driver answer it.
There you go, Chris.
So,
I don't think there is any stupid questions in drainage.
right?
It's my opinion.
you know,
When I was in the Army, they said there was no such thing as a stupid question.
So,
Alright, so you didn't have anything, you guys have anything for drainage? Alright,
all right.
move on then. Consider for approval annual gap report. This was sent out the other day.
Yeah, we did the cash last week, so
you looked at it.
Might be incorrect.
I guess I'll entertain a motion to approve the gap report.
I'll make a motion to approve the annual gap report.
Motion Lisa Jensel, they run annual gas report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say aye. Motion carries. Open forum. So, did you guys see we're changing the compensation board?
Yeah.
To next Monday.
Does that work for you?
Doing a lot of thinning over there.
Did you see the comp board meeting is changed Monday at 9?
Can you say that one more time without all this stuttering and stammering?
It's been a rough morning today. Did you see the email
Yes,
where the compensation board,
it was Monday morning at 9.
did you call your guy? Because I don't have his number.
I did not.
Can you do that for me, please?
I will do that. And
And make sure it works for him.
Who's your guy?
Jim just go behind.
Oh, that's right.
Tony. I don't know that I'm gonna be here, Carl.
You're not?
My grandson's got a big deal up in Minnesota at school at 2 o'clock in the afternoon up by the cities.
Is it okay with you, or do I need to move it?
I would just say move it, but I mean, I hate to screw everything else up too.
Well, it was supposed to be Wednesday. Everyone had a month to let me know that it was.
I know, well,
That's fine,
I
and
know.
then they changed, I don't know what to do.
Actually, my son told me it was gonna be last Monday. And then he called up and said, things have changed and now it's gonna be this Monday. So, last Monday it didn't affect anything, and this Monday I wasn't even thinking about it until you brought that up, so. Whatever you wanna do.
I don't know what to do. I'll call in. He's the chair. He's gotta make the decision.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what.
We gotta do what we gotta do.
I'll call in.
Okay.
Because I'm not gonna make a decision.
Okay.
I'm guessing everybody's gonna come in pretty much like the Rochester City Council,
Holy smokes.
double their pay.
The mayor gets 73 or 70.
78.
The city council will give 50 something, 55.
62.
That's the president of the
Oh,
council.
president. I thought it was.
Wow.
They call him the president instead of the council, instead of the vice chair or whatever.
So is that what you guys want, double your pay?
I don't think I can sleep at night.
Put that on the website. Board supervisors are incessantly insistent on a double in wage pay.
There'll be no threats to your office after that.
Carla Weiss is unconscious on the floor, having to figure out how to budget this.
Well, as long as you can do it ahead of time, we'll put it in shape.
Yeah, as long as they know.
Yep, yep.
And the county defibrillator does not work.
I think it's been purposely sabotaged at that point.
I had to do it last time, you do it.
You're supposed to turn those paddles around.
Want to move it?
Yeah.
We'll talk later.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not happy about it either.
Sorry.
Well,
It's not your fault.
Angie approached me about 2 or 3 weeks ago about this. That would have been fine, but we're heading into Christmas scheduling, which
so maybe we should just go back to the original schedule and then move on.
It was Kelsey's.
There's just one that'll be, won't have somebody there.
Was he the one that wasn't able to make it last year?
Yeah.
Kelsey, now you can win.
And,
I don't know what.
it's not the end of the world.
It's doable, but it's just, I'll have to cook up a lot of food to make some people happy, let's put it that way.
Well, I can help, I guess. What do you need?
You're really don't wanna be in my kitchen.
I'll bring it from my kitchen.
Oh, okay, all right.
All right, moving on.
Oh, anything you guys want in our report for Thursday? Supervisors, just report to emphasize. About the only thing I'm gonna put in there is, you know, I gotta find out what our ratings were last year. I'll get it on that. And about our turbines and our courthouse repairs, things like that. Challenges within the public health funding and the way reimbursement's driven on it.
So you have your District 2 meeting?
Same
Same
time.
day as the IDDA meeting.
Yeah, they won't have a lot of people there this area,
No, that's too bad.
Yeah,
unless people are splitting up, sending one there and one there.
Well, Chris is going to the IDDA meeting.
So you'll have to bring information back to us.
Okay.
All right. Dave Peterson, Sheriff, can discuss squad car.
So I ordered a new squad car. I got the bids here. I'm just bringing you up to speed is all I'm trying to do here. Should be here today or tomorrow. I just bought one off the floor. They had to do a dealer trade out of Rochester. But it's not a special order or anything. It's
Basic model or?
it's that 6-cylinder, the EcoBoost 6-cylinder is what it is. It's supposed to
That'd be something goals.
But it's also supposed to be good on gas mileage as well.
Yeah.
You know, so
You bet.
that was my thought on that whole deal. But like I said, I just bring you guys up to speed.
Look at what Jim King has one in his truck.
Does he?
You can, even at 70, you'll get.
Okay.
This is a truck.
Yep.
I'm guessing you were on the interstate out in South Dakota, right, when you did that? The speed limit's
I was in
80.
Worth County.
Oh, wow, that doesn't matter. Doesn't say whether, you know, if you're going 70 and you got up to 80 with a speed limit out there, so.
Is that bank on line one?
But Ford got the bid, and so I just went ahead and did it, so.
All right.
And I got the bid sheets here, Carl. I'll just throw them on the desk.
Perfect.
Thanks for the update.
Okay.
Really? Believe it or not, you have, because it would come in, is for the ink, but if you need to do it next year. Just be careful.
Well, once we get done at the end of the year, I'm sure I won't
It'll
be
make
that
it-
excessive stamp.
Yeah.
Consider for approval, basis in the block.
Okay, so,
I've been trying to do that.
I bet
I look at your face.
I had to,
There we go.
I had
Get
to,
you who's their basis.
you better put me in one if you're gonna change. Okay, so we have a couple of options. We can put in a flat block where the keystones are, or you can have this guy from Minneapolis carve the faces in the block. For the carving and the travel to get the block up to him is gonna be $16,215. However, the caveat is, if, depending on how bad a shape the block is, if he has to do extra carving because the faces are so worn, there's gonna be a little extra, probably money for the carving. So, you need to decide whether you want faces or whether you want flat block.
flat block cost how much?
Well, just the stone.
And how much is that, so you know what the difference is?
I don't know how much the piece of stone is.
This is an
So,
increase, this is
This
the labor.
it will increase it by $16,000.
You
Increase
can
it
take
to
that flat block
16,000.
or that stone,
Alright.
and you just carve it.
Because we've already bought the stone, it's
Yeah,
deciding what you want to do with it.
it's above and beyond to have the faces carved in.
Yes, $16,215.
And,
Do you know how much lettering costs? If we were to put some phrase in there or something, and I don't know what, but
Well, there's,
instead of leaving it plain.
I don't know that.
That's
My
right.
concern is we're on the National Historic Registry.
What's that?
We're on the National Registry. And so technically, we're supposed to keep things as they are.
Well, we shouldn't replace it if we gotta really dig into that stone, so. You know, if he, whatever he has to do, he might go a lot deeper, you know. There's a lot of questions that come up on
Well, they're
this.
gonna take it all the way
The whole
down,
thing comes down.
Yeah, I
and
know.
they're gonna put it back up. I mean,
I
so,
know, but the carver's gonna have to, if he's gonna redo the heads,
No, he's using the heads we have
yeah,
to model from.
he's gonna go with new stone.
Himself.
yes,
Yeah.
it's all new
Because
stuff.
it's deteriorated and not already. He's not gonna repair the stones, he's gonna make new stones. So it's a choice of a flat block instead of the faces or carving the block.
The flat block are 16,000 more we get up faces.
I'd have a hard time explaining 16,000. You pay attention to the heads when you walk in?
The ludicrous concept in my mind that would seem almost impossible to do is to take famous Winnebago Countyans and slowly replace each block with the face bust of that individual around the courthouse. Meanwhile, just keep it flat block until you have that situation.
There's only one shot. I mean, it's either now or never, though. That's
One question I'd have for Dave is, could these blocks be pulled out and replaced in the future?
Yeah.
Or can you leave the block, you know, possibly recessed out some, and then have somebody come in and carve the faces later?
It's gonna be hard to do it there.
Well, I don't know what kind of
Oh,
equipment they
just
have.
give them a ladder, set it up on the side, you know, on the dirt where it's muddy and let it sink down. They should be able to get it done in about
Well, you know, I was thinking we got to put up scaffolding, but you know, if we want to do it the fun way.
It's just a ludicrous idea, guys, but it would be unique and different. If you spend the 16,000, make it worth it. You know, I'm just being a citizen, not a reporter.
Have the faces of,
The people that are up there now.
who are the faces? Are they the faces somebody now?
They're like, it's like King Titan and two, like, queens of, like,
Whatever.
Greek figures or something,
Philosophers.
yeah,
Socrates is in there somewhere.
What is there, 3 faces?
yeah. One
So
male,
if we did the 3 of us up there, that could possibly be worth it then.
And I think
But,
everybody would be okay with that, as long as we pay for it.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. Yeah, but then after that, it would be called the Three Stooges, I think they said.
How soon we gonna know?
what's that?
How soon you have to know for that?
Is Dave around?
I don't know. I can,
See,
Well, he isn't gonna be doing that until, is he gonna tend that side too,
yes,
that's the one you got.
he's,
or, all right, so that's coming up.
probably 8 weeks is when he's planning on taking it down.
We call it to see if it's possible to, I don't know if this is a structural block or if it's a,
You know,
I don't think once in there, I don't think you can take it out. I think it's
oh,
old.
everything's stable. He's taking everything out here, so
Okay, I don't know, ask him.
it's not gonna be
Isn't that what the
cheap.
columns stand on?
But
Heads,
So the
the
heads
heads are
are,
at the top of the arches. It's the keystone at the top of the arch. Or is that the right term?
yeah,
we could take a field trip out there and look at it.
I'm not sure I've ever looked up and seen people.
Oh,
I did. One was actually draining water on top of me.
I've noticed them only because I was out there looking at everything anyway, as far as what needs to be done, and then you notice the faces here, whether I've ever actually walked in.
Dave,
Hey, Gary.
hey, we're having our meeting, we're discussing those spaces or putting in flat block on that east side.
Yes.
Is it possible to put a flat block in now and be able to replace it with a face later?
That is a very tough thing to do because once you take the keystone out, there's nothing else holding that up.
Okay. So it's now or never.
Yes. I mean, it would be very possible. You'd have to block up all your arch and then hope nothing moved. That's not a good way to do it. I mean, we could do it. No, it's really not a good way to do it.
Okay.
And there's no way the faces could be carved in after the fact if you put them up and had the stone recessed out a little bit?
I don't know the answer to that, Mike. We'd have to ask the sculptor, but I'm guessing it'd be more money because
Well,
we
sure.
have to do it on site.
Yeah, well, no, it would be, everything always costs you more money when you're doing it after the fact.
Yes.
How about, did we find out timeline for the sculptor? Is it gonna hold us up?
I will double check that. If you want to know that, I don't know the answer to that. It wasn't a problem before. He thought we could meet our timeline, but a month has went by. I guess I need to double check. So.
Could you check with them to see what just a simple, like a rosette would cost? Something simple?
Say that again, Mike.
What a rosette would cost instead of the faces? Some kind of design.
Just a simple design.
Okay. Yeah, I can. Do you have anything in mind? Do you have a
No.
picture you can show me, or just because what we would have is the piece that we have that will be made sticks out quite a bit, as you well know. So if we could add that, add a little more, we could make
Something
it
that would
flat,
match.
we can make it kind of half pointed. I'm not sure what you want. We just need to make sure we're on the same page.
Could it be cut more like a scroll?
I would say that could be done. I would think,
Then you
yeah,
wouldn't necessarily have to carve it, you're just cutting it.
right.
Because it doesn't stick out and it looks like the faces are supporting it. If I remember right.
Yeah. I mean, yes and no. I mean, you step out and look at it, but I mean, they have that head piece or the keystone, I'm going to call it. That piece is a bigger, longer, so it sticks out more. So it does look like it's really doing something. You know, you see that quite a bit often on the keystones that they make them a little bit bigger or beefier or whatever you might say.
Yeah.
Something just like that, rising sun or something, you know, I mean, something simple.
Well, except that the area doesn't. Okay, here's, Eric brought us a picture in of one of these.
Okay.
So we're looking at it. And your thought was if you put a flat block in, it still sticks out with a little edge above it, right?
Yes.
Would it have to?
No, I don't think so. It just adds character to it, I do.
You want, in my opinion, you want to have some kind of character to it.
So there's, yeah.
Well, what do you guys think?
I guess my take is go something simple.
What's your thought too?
Oh, yeah, that's my, but, you know, I'm sure there's, people that are more on the historical side of things that are probably one or the other way, I would guess. But,
Not gonna please everybody.
no,
You're not gonna pay them for it.
No, nobody's ever heard that they're not historical figures from the county.
Right.
Or even from Iowa.
Yeah, no,
There's no
yeah.
connection to Winnebago
They're
County.
kings and queens, it's coming from Britain anyway.
You know, the other possibility, if we were to follow that same line I was talking about, is just have bronze plates inset into the stone, in which case you're only carving like about that much out of the stone.
Well, yeah, either that or just have them bolted to the stone.
Exactly.
So
if it's a
we
flat
have
plate-
bronze plates made with faces of whoever we want on them.
Right.
Well, yeah, well, I'm not gonna say that we wouldn't be a great choice, but.
There'll be another.
But, I mean, if you could even then, we would have time to, have people suggesting who great figures from Winnebago County, like John K. Hansen would probably be a relatively, safe bet. I mean, there's nobody that's been more influential in Winnebago County than Winnebago Industries, so,
Or the other thing is you could have that bronze inset where you have the image of whatever you want to have on there. It could be
yeah.
the county symbol, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Or whatever, put onto a bronze and then
Dave,
the stone.
Dave,
Yeah.
do you think it's possible if we had something flat on there that we could attach a bronze thing to it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why we couldn't attach something to it.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's gonna be solid, and if we had a flat spot for that bronze thing to go.
I mean, you could even do it with, some kind of a great, good adhesive or whatever. You wouldn't even need to necessarily drill into the block. I mean,
Yeah, I think that's true. If we found the right adhesive, I feel pretty comfortable with that.
I mean, you could still drill some like anchor bolts in there and with the adhesive, you wouldn't have any bolts sticking out on the surface of the.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Bring that
A
up.
lot of times, some of that stuff comes, and it's already, part of the bronze. You'll have the bronze plaque, and then on the back side, it'll have a little deal that is like welded to it or raised to it or whatever you want to say, and it sticks in. Then you drill a hole, you put your epoxy in there, and you push it in.
Yeah,
So that way you don't see any anchors.
yeah, no, that would make sense if it had studs on the back.
Yep.
Yeah. I would assume that would be a lot cheaper, and then we would have time to have people write suggestions or have a contest on people suggesting, people from Winnebago County's history that we would want on there.
We could probably have the Historical Society work with that.
Yep.
I make a lot of people happy.
Then we'll still end up with some faces on there, and then we could even put names on there too, along with it, and have it cost a heck of a lot less and still add to the character of the building.
When it comes to the bronze thing, I think, I don't know a lot about that. I know there's, companies that do it, but I've never really done much with that. So we can reach out to somebody who knows, and the historical people might very well know.
Yeah.
The veterans and for the Legion and stuff, they've usually done stuff like that. I know I've anchored several of them, so.
But for right now, I think we're all kind of in unison on, maybe just going with the flat stone.
Go with the flat stone for now,
And possibly.
and then research the other to get the cost and,
We'd like to keep this project
Dave?
going.
Yes,
Can we wait till next week to make a final decision on this?
yes, we
Okay.
could. Because I need to get with the architect so that I can get my stamped engineering drawing. And he won't stamp that until I talk to the architect. The architect's out of town this week. So Monday is the very soonest, and he actually was very busy next week, so I'm not sure. So I don't know why we can't make that work. We can wait 1 week so you guys can do a little research, and then at that time I'll know kind of what we need for a stone anyway. I mean, if it's gonna stick out. Are you thinking it'll stick out in front like 2-3 inches or so, and then your bronze would go on it?
yeah,
They'd like that one over the door.
Put your bronze on.
yeah. That's,
So the one below it over the door, is just a flat one.
Okay,
We could do it similar to that, I would think.
sure.
it's still set out a little bit.
Yeah, it's coming out a little bit, but it's got a cover over the top of it. And
So, you know, that it'll help emphasize, you know, whatever we end up putting on here, if it's the stone set out some.
Okay. Well, it would probably make good sense, if you just take the week and think about it, and then next week we can finalize that.
all right.
Okay,
Okay.
Can you send that to me?
thank you.
Let me know if you have any other questions.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think you should talk to the Historical Society
Yeah,
before you make a
right.
decision. And then how do you know that the bronze things won't cost as much as what the stone does?
Oh, I don't think the bronze will cost that much. I mean, just plates that
They're
you're gonna
molded.
put on something, they're
Do
just
you
a
know
grade.
anyone that-
It's almost like making a plaque in a sense.
Tombstones.
We might even
Contact
have a
your local-
Winnebago resident that's a sculptor for bronze
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
past.
Yeah, you're right, like, you know,
Call your
monument
tombstone people.
places, that make tombstones and stuff, they have bronze things on them all the time, the bigger ones. Or even some of the smaller ones, you got, you know, the military guys, you got a bronze plaque. You know, but granted,
Lots
usually,
of companies for that.
So are you guys gonna check into that?
So are we talking a face that depth or so, or
you know, you would want it so it,
you want some
brings out the
three-dimensional?
character of the person's face some. You wouldn't want it flat, you want it to where it comes out of.
So you're talking this much?
Yeah, yeah.
Don't they have a,
Well, no, maybe
John
this
and
one.
Louise over there on the Hanson Center, across from the church, kitty corner from the church?
What
I
about
think,
that?
I think they have a plaque with John Hanson and John and Louise Hanson's face on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at that.
Yeah, there may be other, you know, the historical society, you know, those people, they might have other people that are behind the scenes that really, you know.
Well, there was a cowboy movie star that came from Winnebago County. Can't remember what his name is, but he came from Winnebago County. There's others as well too. There's if you go down to the mansion, there's like, you're gonna, those two ladies down there are just gonna talk your ear off for about 3 or 4 hours about famous Winnebagans.
Yeah. The ambassador of China.
What you say?
But
Oh,
You know, we sold, for $1,000, we sold names on the, up in Lake Mills on the monument, so.
sell the bronze plate on the building. Man, we could even, you know, have it where you're only out there for so many years until you re-up your money. Oh, by that, we could turn this from a $16,000 expense into an income
Yeah.
stream here.
The US Bank courthouse.
Yeah, US Bank courthouse, there you go. Well, I think I would be more satisfied with not doing that. But, you know, it's really good, I'm sure.
You gotta find a way to make money, you know.
Yeah.
Just gotta swing the pendulum on the costs.
Yeah, well, we gotta, I don't know where all their monument companies at, and which one's Lure. That's where most people in Buffalo go. Yeah, Barton.
Yeah, he actually sells.
You know, let's just get her done.
Well, if we can do it through somebody from Winnebago County, that would be nice.
I think we could probably just research it this week and, come back with something, some options.
We can get a cost, I think, a general cost.
So we're talking, what are they, 8 by 12 area?
It's probably pretty tall, but it's not very wide.
But is it gonna fill up the whole area? I mean, is it?
I would assume that you would want it to be the same size as the base of the block.
Yeah, or inset a little bit.
Yeah.
It's better than Greek gods and goddesses. King Midas.
Yeah, they don't need much to be.
Doesn't really
Hey, Bart,
coincide with the values of what.
I'm at a supervisor.
yeah.
meeting, so
Yeah.
I'll make this quick. here.
Make this Winnebago County.
Putting a bronze plaque on stone, say size 12 by 16 inches. Like a bust, like say a bust, or just a face, what would You have an idea what that would cost, roughly? Well, you know, a phase.
Like John King Hanson's face, it would possibly end up being
It doesn't have to be a bust, but it sticks out a little bit, you know? Yeah, 3D picture.
It could easily be a couple $1,000, I think.
Okay.
I would have to find, I'm not sure is the answer,
Okay.
but I know who I would ask.
But 3 of them wouldn't cost 16,000, would it? Three of those.
I wouldn't think, I wouldn't think so, but again,
Yeah.
They would be
I'd
more
have
durable.
to ask,
Yes, it'd also protect the
Okay.
stone, so if you
Could
see.
you do that for me?
So you could
change them out if you wanted to.
And you could change it.
Well, it's over the courthourse, you know, there's 3 faces
You
in
find out that one of
stone.
those people that
on
got
the
up there's
entrance,
been Epstein Island, you can take
But
them
they
off.
want $16,000 to carve those, so we were thinking of some cheaper way of doing it, so.
And what's the total dimension?
Let's go with 12 by 6, 12, yeah, 12 by 16, 12 by 18. Let's go with 12 by 18,
12 inches by 18?
yeah. That definitely should cover it. Yeah, 3 of those.
And if you get it cheap enough, one of the busts could be you.
I believe I just heard a great voice. I'm waiting for Terry to chime in.
I'll just bite my lip today.
Let me find out though. I don't know if I can do it, within the hour.
That's fine, yep.
Okay.
Thank you much.
Maybe by next week.
Yep.
So 6,000, 16,000, tough decision here.
Well, I think the durability of it would be better, because these things obviously have deteriorated over the years.
Well, then if you have
And I think these
somebody,
will stand out better. Frankly, I never really paid attention to the faces till we started talking about it before.
I knew they were there, but,
We have tourism out here with the statue and the cannon and everything else.
And the fountain, that's all.
I think
that's
something that
gross.
stood out like bronze would probably enhance it better.
we, and it would mean a lot more to me if it had historical figures from Winnebago County out there too.
And I think we could probably take our time and do it right, rather than rushing into making that decision and having to have it carved right away.
Yeah.
We're probably leaning towards the flat, attaching something to it.
Okay, so do you want me to put something on Facebook that asks people's opinions about what?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Maybe
get
take
it out
pictures
there.
of the existing ones.
Yeah.
That'll blow up.
It'll be interesting.
Oh, no, yeah,
It'll be awful, but it'll, yeah.
I'm saying what?
Blow up, like everybody's gonna start.
Everybody's gonna have their favorite person from history.
It's gonna start here and go way over here somewhere.
That accelerated.
Well, then when it's done, you just take the ones that the name was suggested the most.
And I'm sure he's not gonna post anything on it.
I'm not a big Facebook poster, she knows that. I respond, but I don't post much. There's not much for me to post anyway, because,
Other than the doubling our raises.
Exactly, yeah,
So we are gonna table this till next week till we get all the.
After this
information.
happens, we may be able to double our raises.
just trying to find a way,
Yeah, well, it's, hopefully everybody knows that was tongue in cheek.
So this is the
So these are the new, plans from the structural engineers. The red is what they've added in. And so that means that the cost will probably go up a little bit from what Dave originally gave you for cost because of the new things added by the structural engineer.
Right. Ties it together better.
Yep.
Makes sense.
They're gonna try and put a rod through there, is that it?
So it looks like a rebar.
Rebar that's,
It's the same thing. I need 2 originals.
Number 4, hooked bar. 332 inches.
Did you have a cost there? Let's see.
You signed the original cost quite a while ago. It was 383 something off the top of my head. So it'll go up a little bit. Plus we have the structural engineer, plus we have the architect, so.
So we're talking, what, 15,000 higher?
Probably closer to 400.
Yeah, I can't give you,
Well, we don't have an option.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what they say we gotta do, so it doesn't matter.
yep,
We either don't do it or we do it this way.
Do it right.
yep.
We want to do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't wanna have to take it back
How
down
do they
and
secure that?
put it back up again.
What do you mean secure?
How's that secured?
It'll be,
It's tied to the block.
is it something that runs between the block or is it something that goes through the block?
Isn't that rebar that's going up to?
Yeah, it's a vertical.
Yeah, but you gotta have it secure. The pressure is gonna be that way, so you gotta have that secure. I just was wondering how they secure it.
Sounds like an engineering question.
Dave told me that when it's done, you'll be able to drive a semi over the top of that
Well, he
balcony up there and it'll be fine.
said that before we had this extra stuff on there. He already said he could grab a semi, which is what he was gonna do, so.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the reason they gave for adding this?
The structural engineer is adding it.
We're required to have this.
He just extra strength beyond. So evidently we can have an
So it's a
we can have an overloaded semi out there.
So if you see why
That and,
That and the architect.
he's, I imagine he needs to have something on there to justify his fee. Yeah, it's,
you didn't sign off on that, I guess, so
yeah.
that's what you say. It's a shame.
Well, I think,
Dave's done enough of these that he would want to.
yeah, I think the design he's come up with is not unreasonable.
could
I think it
we
just
call
ties
Dave
it
again
together.
and ask him how much extra he thinks it'll be to do it this way? Not that it's gonna matter, it'd just be a curiosity thing.
I don't think he knows yet. I don't think
Okay.
he's put the pencil to the paper.
All right,
It's gonna be some iron.
yeah. I don't know exactly how.
He didn't think it was gonna be too terribly much more.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's too intrusive to me, so it's, I can't believe it's gonna be too much.
So some of the iron was already in the plant, this is the red one that he's adding.
Yeah.
I guess I have no problem with the design.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion to approve. This is number 9.
Yes,
I'll make a motion to approve the front courthouse project design.
I'll say that.
Motion from Derby and a second from Stenzer to approve the front courthouse project design. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
so number 10. Since I put this on the agenda, I talked to more people and found out that since we're over 400,000 for this project, that we have to go through bonding. We can't just go to the local bank. So basically, do you want me to get quotes from Spear Financial or Northland Securities to do the bonding for the,
yeah, I suppose.
okay?
won't know the bonding
Right, we won't,
interest until we're ready to do it.
right. The other thing is we have to do this before December, the end of December, because you can only do this once every calendar year. So if we have to get this done in December so that we can bond for this into the 2020.
2020, yeah.
So I'm going to start on that today.
All right.
And then we don't need to set the public hearing yet because I'm not ready now that we can't go local.
To get it, how far out does public hearing have to be on it?
No more than 10 to 20.
We got a few days.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah, we've got,
We can do it before
we've
the end
got
of
a,
the month.
Well, since we're gonna be rushed on it, it wouldn't matter to me if we just ask Jeff to do it.
I don't want Jeff to do it, but I don't, he is so much more expensive than Spirit Financial. I think we need quotes from both of them.
Okay.
This is probably a good project to start.
Oh, yes,
Merry Christmas.
yes.
I got 10 free for sending the information, so.
Awesome.
They got drainage lines on it.
Do they?
Yeah, I gave her a hug because I thought it was so nice. I mean, it doesn't number them or give the sizes, but at least you know where they're at.
So
It's kind of nice.
we address this next week in 10 days for a public hearing. Are we gonna have to have a special meeting? We're not showing any meeting after the 17th.
We get it to the paper here. It'll be in the paper here. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Well, to expedite this, then let's just,
10.
Yeah, like I said.
what we can do is, we can tell both of them that I need a bid tomorrow. And we can do it right now, we can give Carla the ability to say, go ahead, Spirit.
Take the low cost.
Yeah, you know which one's gonna be the low cost and appropriate cost.
So we can get it done today, I mean, they can have that bid.
Under which I,
Well, we can set the public hearing under the assumption that we'll do that. And since this is we can do it today, since it's kind of an emergency.
well, under the number 11, we can set the public hearing for the, where we set, for the 17th.
I don't think anybody's gonna bitch
And,
if we take care of it, so I mean.
unless we move our
We can get-
Monday to the 23rd.
If I can get the public hearing to the paper tomorrow. 1, 2, 3. It'll be in the paper here. We have to have a,
We could do, change the meeting from the 24th to the 23rd.
Does everything have to be done? The bonds bought and everything?
I don't know, I'll have to call Maggie and bond counsel again and make sure. Let me see what I can do. I will.
You know, relatively speaking, it's not that big a number, 400,000. I don't know why we can't just get Carla the approval to go ahead and get this done. Then she can get it done as fast as possible.
Being as time sensitive, it is kind of an emergency.
Otherwise, it's come back for our approval, come back for our approval. So I have no problem with that.
So we're looking at setting the public hearing for the bond.
Well, and we're not gonna have
How
a
long is
meeting
it?
this day anyway, because we're closed, so we have to have a meeting the 23rd.
Right.
So we set the meeting, public hearing for the 23rd.
Yeah. And part of that motion can include allowing Carla to move forward with the low bid on the bond.
Yeah,
I'd make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion from Derby and a second from Jensvold to make the public hearing for bonding December 23rd at 10 PM. With the, allowing the auditor to go forward with the low cost on bonding. Any further discussion?
Yes.
Trying to do it before that.
If you tell them that you gotta have their bid back to you tomorrow, we could have it done the 17th.
We can't.
First, well, it'd be 10 days. You said 10 to 20. If we get it done tomorrow,
It doesn't publish till next week.
Yeah, it doesn't publish till much. If I get to the paper tomorrow, it won't be in the paper till the 11th, and then it's 10 days from there.
do we have to have that in the paper of record? Can't do that.
So we end up on the 23rd anyway.
All right.
That's as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Then we better be ready, just in case, we better be ready to move that week, in case Mike says we gotta have the whole thing done. So. All right,
There won't be any follow-up action needed before the end of the year after that, is there?
I don't know. I've got a lot of finding out to do.
I should say, yeah.
All right, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to change our board meeting from December 24th to December 23rd.
second that.
A motion from Jenslow and a second from Stender to move our board meeting from the 24th to the 23rd. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Can we not do 13 today? Because if we need that extra meeting in December,
Well, we can.
We can
on
always-
On the 23rd, we can
We
just
can
set a
always add it
special
again.
meeting.
okay.
Well, we have to have it second, it's law.
Well, yeah, we have to have it on the 2nd, but I'm wondering if
We may need to have a
may
meeting
need
on
that
the
December
31st.
meeting too.
But we can determine that by the 23rd.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So we don't have,
We can still action on number 13.
okay.
I'll make a motion to, have a board meeting on January 2nd instead of December 31st, 2019.
I'll
But
second.
we gotta keep that 31st open, so.
And the 23rd, we can decide to either have it on the 30th or the 31st.
As a special.
Or we could have it on the 27th if we had to, if we really wanted it, that'd be too bad.
So I second that. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Sunday monthly county claims. You guys get a chance to look over the county.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion from Stagg, and a second from Jenslow to approve the Sunday monthly county claims. All those in favor say aye. 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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. You have the claims. Okay, we're going back to number 6, open forum.
Yeah.
January 2nd.
Where's she from?
Do you want this stuff?
It's Doug's daughter, isn't it?
I have no idea.
I think it is, I'm sure it is. I think it is.
That's what we received.
Received it.
I guess as long as we're open forum, I suppose we need to be thinking about our appointments the first of the year too. We just got to lists sent out to us recently, so. Look through those and see. Okay. Number 15, consider for approval transaction resolution for CSS.
You know, it's gonna cost to move to one employer record.
Is that,
You know how much this is gonna cost to have CSS become their own employer record? Over $400,000.
what does it cost into? I mean, like,
The transition of it all and means they're gonna have to have people in place to do everything that our auditors were doing in every county before. So there'll be new jobs. He just hired 2 or 3 more employees for the iStart team. We've got, I don't know, it's gotta be close to $3 million, if not more, in new salaries here in the last few years that used to go to taking care of people who needed.
Transferring some of that money from actually servicing people to administration.
Yep. But like Bob put in an email once to me, he says, I'm so stupid I can't see the forest through the trees. I think he can see the forest through all the money he piles up and all the jobs. I was hoping that we wouldn't be around here to have to deal with this.
Does it have to be approved today?
There was a date that I had to have it to them by, and I'm not sure what that was, but I'm guessing there's a reason I put it on the agenda.
This reflects on our exit funds.
No, it's spelled out in the 2080 that when we exit, we get 2.3%. Because that's our percentage of the population of the region.
Yeah, but at what point the balance?
Well, you know, really, we put our letter of intent to leave, it should go grandfather back to that, not last year, but, I don't know what the actual rules are that on. But, if we get out, CSS's fund balance is about $8 million right now, it's projected to be $4.2 million at the end of the year. If we get out now, our 2.3% is gonna be a lot more than it will be done.
So this employer of record is where they become a private entity utilizing government funds?
Yes, and,
So they're their own corporation funded solely by the government?
solely by us. Our levies are still, and then they'll just have total control over who's hired and fired. And,
I thought they already did.
well, they do in a sense, it all goes before the board, but we'll get outvoted anyway, so it won't matter.
So essentially this becomes its own corporation?
Yes, yeah, CSS has become its own private entity, it's gonna be providing the benefits, retirements, the whole works will go through CSS, and the whole process is gonna cost. We just got there's another thing on the agenda now to approve, Tyler Technologies for another 30,000 or something like that, I can't remember what it was.
Is this a common practice?
As far as I know, we're the only region doing it.
Okay, but as far as governments funding corporations solely?
It's not really a corporation, it's just the region.
It's a 2080.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2080.
It's a 2080,
But
so it's its own business.
they're gonna be a lot closer to being their own business, yes, because they will no longer be county employees. They will all be employees of CSS.
what we purchased from Fund 10, so this year, Winnebago County has purchased assets from Fund 10 for CSS.
So there's 2 computers, I think 2 laptops, and the cell phones that Bobby has, all of her stuff on 10.
county loses those to this entity?
Well, they were purchased out of Fund 10, so that it technically belongs to the
Technically,
county.
that Fund 10 money is CSS's because of the 2080.
What's the purpose of this 2080 in the first place? I mean, is it to have better control of their employees, better control of the money, more say?
It's better, all of the above. And there's a lot of guys that are actually supervisors that are not real impressed with the way things are going with CSS. That voted for this employer of record because it thinks it's going to take their county's liability because it won't be a county employee anymore. Say they get in an accident with a CSS car or whatever, instead of being an employee of the county, now CSS will get sued. But in the end, all the same counties will pay it because if CSS gets sued, we all have to make it up. So we'll all be paying our percentage of it anyway, which it'll limit the liability for, everybody be paying for it instead of maybe one county getting sued.
And if there's a discrimination situation as well too,
Yeah, no,
racial,
yeah, no,
gender.
it takes some liability, and the bigger county you are with the more CSS employees, or the more employees you have now that are in CSS, the bigger counties it'll be more of an advantage for them because they won't have as much risk out there because they have by nature more employees that are employed reimbursed through CSS, county employees that are reimbursed through CSS.
So I go back to this question, 28Es are set up like this. This is commonplace in state and county government where
Cities, counties.
they allow these people to create their own organization.
Oh, no, that hasn't happened a lot. No, I don't think so. No, it's just,
Like Winnebago is a 2080.
The 911 dispatch is 2080.
Well, here they're requiring us, Winnebago County, to engage employees and provide offices, equipment, buildings, and grounds as necessary to adequately perform the function of the CSS. If they're gonna be their own entity, they gotta do that. Not us, we're not gonna pay for that.
we are, we're more than paying for it. But,
Well, I know that, but I mean,
they're
this looks
gonna,
like to be above and beyond.
if we stay in CSS, they're gonna still want that office space down there. If we wanna have CSS employees that live, work in our county.
But they're their own, I see Mike's point, they're their own entity. Shouldn't they have their own, they're already.
Yes, they have to buy office equipment, all kinds of stuff now. I mean, that's part of the transition expense is, because they have to provide a space where all these people are gonna be, because the auditor's offices are no longer, we already pay for our auditor's offices, now we gotta pay on top of it for another office to house all the CSS employees that are gonna be doing the things that the auditors used to do.
It's almost a double
This looks like a
taxation.
good page to challenge community. I'm not worried. Obviously.
As I recall, the county courthouse, there's a lack of space.
Well, we could,
I think it's time to let the court settle it. He's gone up to do that, in my opinion.
there's other guys that are supervisors that think that he's a visionary.
Well, I know. It's just another bureaucracy that we will not have control of.
Yes, we'll have one that vote in it that will have. I don't think there's gonna be too many things that don't go his way after this.
That's my opinion.
So you're saying you don't wanna pass this?
I don't want to sign it. I don't want to pass it. I say we give it to Kelsey and we challenge it. she needs to look at it quickly to see if it is a disservice to the people that need it here in Winnebago County, and we get stuck not being able to serve them.
Well, what we'll get stuck with is they're making the decision how well Winnebago County people are gonna get serviced. And,
The legislators give them that power. They make the decision whether our citizens are being served or not.
the legislators, I guess we're gonna get that power, because if we sign this,
Yeah, that's why we shouldn't sign it. Look at the mandates they could place on us.
I don't, well, you'd have to go through the board to do it, but then that'll happen, so.
How is this gonna affect Bobby?
Bobby's in a bad position.
Yeah.
And, especially someone who's relatively close to retirement, what decision she's gonna wanna make. And if we decide to get out of CSS, she could possibly decide to stay with it, and then.
I think she's already decided to stay with CSS.
But,
So no
I
matter
know
what,
this-
we need to pass the part of that says we transfer Bobby's employment to CSS.
And that's fine.
Can't be said.
I think you can do whatever you want. I think if you want to have Kelsey look at this, I think that's a great idea. We can put it back on the agenda for next week, and
I would feel better about that. But the question, can we segment a part of it?
Does this limit the county's ability to serve the clientele that need it here? Does it effectively isolate the county as a government whole or entity out?
From the
And
way
keep-
From the way Bill explained it is, we're gonna have to serve our people that need it here in Winnebago County according to the rules of Bob. And if we're not doing it good enough,
the decision-making process for a lot of this stuff everything will flow through Blackhawk County, because that's where the main office is gonna be, if I remember right. So all the employees that live and work down there will be making the decisions on what is taken care of up here, whether that's gonna be funded or not.
I guess I've just been concerned over the bureaucracy involved in services. That it takes so many levels of decision making.
It takes days to make decisions now, if not weeks to make decisions, even at the CSS level, that used to take minutes on our own level. But we know what we want to do with our own people, and now it'll have to go through the whole machine. And it's gonna add cost to everything, because it's over 400,000 to get this thing switched over. And then it's gonna be several $100,000 every year to maintain it. So it's, you know, in the end, you're talking millions of dollars that are gonna go for the machine that used to go to being able to take care of your people how you wanna do it.
And we haven't even entered the child psychology side of this yet, as of yet.
Well,
Even though he's diving into it.
He's diving into it before it's it's an unfunded mandate, and there's some of us that think that we shouldn't do it yet because it's unfunded. But you know, I'll admit, I was surprised to find out that, you know, that children are already part of it. Because there's the place where you head off some of the problems, you know, where
And there's a push at the school level that it should be handled at the school rather than CSS.
See, if we had the millions of dollars that our four counties have put into this, that we've been misrepresented so poorly on, back, we could have been putting things in our own schools and helping fund counselors right in our own schools and stuff to take care of our own problems, and do it probably for a lot less than what's going to be done for you.
everything you're saying adds fuel to challenge this thing.
I don't want any part of it.
Yeah.
But then I was hoping that, and we may be, if you know, if we are fortunate enough to have unless Iowa Care Connections this month decide that they're gonna take us, I think we can be out of here about the time, by the end of the month even, if they decide. I think we could withdraw immediately because our intent to withdraw is good from last year yet. Because so the only thing that was holding that back is we had to wait until we had a place to go.
All right, anything else on this then, since we tabled?
Well, we'll table it for now. Yeah.
That's a-
Okay.
I guess that's the last item on our agenda.
There's, she has court on Tuesdays, right?
Yeah,
Next week too?
I don't.
Every Tuesday?
It's every other Tuesday.
Yeah, she might be available.
No, I was thinking for next week.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Or she can at least give us an opinion.
Yeah, by next week.
Well, I think that, I'd like to discuss, I guess I can talk to her myself, I don't like doing that, but. Okay.
What do you,
Well, just, she might not, be in favor of, doing it. I don't know her workload. But sometimes, I guess I'd like her legal opinion and not whether it's a work for her, because if she thinks that we can do it, then I wouldn't be afraid to put some money towards challenging this. And it sounds like the lawyer from the suit has already got a lot done on this, on challenging it, so. Okay.
well, and in the meantime, I'll talk to, Cassuth and Worth on what they did with this. And, see where we stand as far as, we're all on the same page with that. The Cassuth's lawyer has kind of taken the lead on some of this stuff, so.
Curiosity, should you have to pass this before the end of the month, and then all of a sudden Northwest Care Connection says, come on in, guys. Are we bound to have to pay that extra amount of money in order to set up folks downstairs?
We've already done that.
We've already paid our levy for this half of the year.
But this is gonna be in excess of that.
No, this is
No.
just,
Our fund balance is already going to pay for that.
So the fund balance will pay for the figure that you're bandying about, which is the
Well,
$400,000.
the $1 million that we've dumped into CSS, or about 1.5 million since,
It's gonna cost CSS $400,000, they already have the money.
Aye.
Okay.
they have an $8 million fund balance to use on this.
So we're not fiscally bound
Yeah,
if that document is passed.
And I wonder if we were able to get out at the end of the month, would we, get our money that we already put in, for this fiscal year, would we get it back retroactively? If we're only in for so long, do we have to, is there gonna be any legal recourse for us to not be able to take or get our money back if we don't say half of it?
that's just as funny.
You don't think that would happen?
He'll drag it out, because he's gotta have four
Well,
people, I suppose.
He has drugged this whole thing out this far already intentionally, so. And, oh, and another thing he's doing, he's gonna hire somebody from ISAC for $70 an hour. I think it's from ISAC. A person for $70 an hour to help him with this transition, as long as he needs it. So, another expense on top of it all before it was approved. It's on the,
Well, I understand that you're